The New York Mets barely holding on to the third and final wild card spot. Buckle up, everybody. The final 12 games or so of the regular season are going to be a bumpy one. Welcome in another edition of the Bleav in Mets podcast. Chris Schubert, Jack McKessie back with you here once again on the show. Apologies for our absence. Stuff going on behind the scenes for both of us. Weren't able to link up with a time to record. Don't worry, we weren't just abandoning the show because the Mets weren't playing well. We had plenty of thoughts that we were sharing. We just couldn't link up. But we're back here. Mets have an off day. And unfortunately, Jack, I wish we were speaking under different circumstances, but the Mets holding just a 1.5 game lead right now over the San Francisco Giants, although the Giants and Diamondbacks are in action tonight. So there's a world where it's the Diamondbacks that are the team right behind the New York Mets entering play tomorrow. The Mets start a 3-game series with San Diego, and things are not great right now in Metsville.
We have, Chris, 12 games left in this season?
The Mets currently sit right now 77 and 73. So some quick math tells me that is 150 games.
12 more games, 1.5 game lead in the wild card. The Phillies can clinch the division with a win today. I don't think that this is how I expected things to go after the last time we recorded, where you lose 2 out of 3 to the Reds. You lose the tiebreaker there critically, and the Reds start looking dangerous in the wild card race. The Giants come up out of nowhere despite selling at the deadline. Tyler Rogers, current Met, former Giant. You have 4-game sweep at the hands of the Phillies in Citizens Bank Park. They completely flip the division back in their favor with that. And then 2 out of 3 losses to the Rangers, finally breaking a 8-game slide yesterday on Sunday by Pete Alonso coming up with a walk-off win despite blowing the game. And Chris, things are bleak and I don't know how to feel. And we talked about this right before we started recording. It's like things look so dire, but at the same time, there are so many signs that if this team makes it into the playoffs and are able to get hot and are able to get the offense clicking and the pitching working, they can make a run. It's just right now, it's really hard to envision.
And I think that's what makes it so frustrating to watch this team on a nightly basis right now, because you know how good they can be, and it seems like every single night it's something else. And you had, I don't want to, it's like a jukebox. I put the quarter in and I make you do it again. But you said something in the pre-show that I thought was just so good. Like you just listed off all of the things for the Mets right now that seemingly are going wrong for them. And I'll let you share the list because it's everything that you need to know about how this team is in the situation that they're in when considering 4 weeks ago they were the best offense in baseball and it felt like they were going to actually threaten the Phillies for the NL East.
Yeah, so it's a whole amalgamation of things. And I'll start off with the things that we have talked about ad nauseum, and that's kind of the failure of all 3 phases of the Mets roster clicking at the same time. It's the starting pitching not being good enough to give the offense a chance to win the game. It's the bullpen not being good enough to hold up a strong effort by the starting pitching, or it's the lineup rather not being good enough on offense to back up any good pitching from the starters and the bullpen. So that we've known about that. And then lately, in some of these past games, we have Brandon Sproat going into the 6th inning with a no-hit bid and getting a loss in that game. We have Brandon Sproat coming back with another excellent start and having a no decision because the Mets blow it. We have Nolan McLean giving up only 1 run against the Phillies and not being able to have the Mets win that game because the Phillies end up winning 1-0. We have Nolan McLean yesterday, Sunday's game, obviously the Mets won, having another excellent start and having a no decision because the bullpen blows it. And then we have Jonah Tong in his 3rd career start, giving up blue pit after securing the first 2 outs in the 1st inning and not being able to make it out of there. And so it's just like everything. I didn't even mention David Peterson having 5 decent innings and then everything blowing up in his face against the Phillies. It's just like nothing can go all right at once for the Mets right now.
Yeah, and they just have to go out there and do it. There's no magical fix that's coming. The guys have to start playing to the back of their baseball card, and they just have to put together a team effort here over these final 12 games, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, they start with a 3-game series here against San Diego. It's a 3-game series against Washington after that. At least those 6 games come at home. But then it's a 3-game series in Chicago. Chicago's, I don't know how much Chicago is playing for per se, but they're still a good baseball team, so that's going to present a challenge. And it's just, It's just frustrating to see. And this is something that I wanted to talk to you about because I'd love to get your thoughts on it. We haven't really talked about this side of it, at least together. But I'm starting to see a lot of people turn against David Stearns for what was done at the deadline and how it has all turned out. Because if we go line item by line item, the Cedric Mullins trade seems to be a bad one, right? I think they rushed back Jose Siri to play center field because of how bad things were going with Cedric Mullins in center field. Now, that one I can get on board with everybody because in the moment I didn't like that trade. In the moment I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense, and it's for some of the reasons that we're seeing right now. He's not a better defender. His defense has actually hurt the Mets at times. The bat was a marginal upgrade at best, and he's been worse than that since coming here.
Yeah.
But I look at the bullpen arms that were brought in. Is it David Stearns' fault that Ryan Helsley started tipping his pitches when he got to New York? Is it David Stearns' fault for trading for Tyler Rogers, who was one of the best relievers in the sport, and it not working out? He traded for Gregory Soto. We knew what Gregory Soto was. We knew what Gregory Soto wasn't. Gregory Soto was somebody that when things were clicking, he was great. He has a tendency to walk people. The Mets have been okay with that profile in the past, and you're seeing both ends of that coin. But Gregory Soto wasn't brought in here to be a seventh or eighth inning guy. When Rogers wasn't handling those duties, when Helsley wasn't handling those duties, you felt like, all right, give Soto a chance because he had been pitching well, and so they put him in that role. But Soto was here to be an extra Reed Garrett, right? A sixth inning guy that can help get it to those relievers, to get it to Brooks Raley, to get it to Ryan Helsley, to get it to Tyler Rogers, to get it to Edwin Diaz. And so I get it that everybody wants to get on Stearns for not getting a starter at the deadline, but the reason why he didn't get a starter was he said that the price had to make sense, and he didn't want to block the kids. They were okay with using the kids, and let's face it, the kids haven't been the problem with the rotation. Right. They've been the best part. If the playoffs started today, Jack, Sproten and McClain are starting two of the playoff games. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
They moved Shamanai to the bullpen. Kodai Senga's starting down in Syracuse. I understand that maybe you wanted him to go trade for a starter, but I don't think the market was there. And please don't get me started on the bringing back Sean Manaea conversation that people are having, because there wasn't a better option out there. Corbin Burns got hurt in in Arizona, excuse me. Max Fried for the Yankees has been great, has been good/great at times, but do you want that 8-year contract? I certainly don't. Yeah. So it just feels like everybody is using hindsight to get on a general manager that when in the moment, all of these moves were evaluated as good moves. And again, I know they probably won't admit to it. The chips in Manaea's elbow are clearly what's the problem here. Like, that is clearly what the issue is here with him not being able to go deep into games, with him being a two-pitch pitcher. They are clearly trying to manage that thing as best they can till the end of the season, and they have reached a point now where they're moving him to the bullpen. He's going to piggyback off of Clay Holmes' starts now, and that's their direction moving forward. But right now, I look at the rotation here on Fangraphs, and it's Holmes, Peterson, Tong, Sproat, McClain, and you ask yourself, if the playoffs started today, which three starters would you use? Sproat and McClain, easily the two, and I don't know who I'd pick as my third guy right now. Not sure.
Yeah. I think there's an argument that it of the remaining starters on the roster, David Peterson is the best one of them in terms of consistency. But I mean, lately it's been a really rough go for him. I'm with you though, generally, Chris. Like, it's hard for me to blame Stearns for poor performance on the field, especially with a guy like Helsley who is just tipping his pitches, and that in theory is something that the Mets should be able to fix and get him right. We'll see. But you said it, like, Soto was a move that made sense at the time, Gregory Soto, that is, for adding to the bullpen. Same with Tyler Rogers, same with Helsley. Like, the Mets' biggest problem going into the deadline was with the pitching, specifically the bullpen, which was starting to show cracks because of the lack of length that the Mets were getting from their starting pitchers. The decision not to bring up a starting pitch or to not trade for a starting pitcher, like you said, has actually aged pretty well, given the fact that the three guys that they have brought up, Jonah Tong's obviously shaky start aside, have looked the part of MLB level starting pitchers. Cedric Mullins, I think, was a big flop, and it's unfortunate that his bat is now worse than Tyrone Taylor's was because of Taylor's hot streak and Mullins' cold streak after he got to New York. But sometimes these trade deadline moves are kind of a coin flip, is if they're going to be able to adjust to a new environment and have things work out well. And I don't think it's on Stearns that the performance on the field has not been reflective of the types of players that these are on paper. We saw the opposite result. We saw things go the Mets' way with some gambles that Stearns took last year with Sean Manaea and Luis Severino, Jose Quintana pitching their butts off and looking like the best version of the players that they could ever be. Same with Jose Iglesias on the hitter side. This is just the opposite side of things. Things are bouncing the opposite of the Mets' way. It's 50-50. It's a coin flip, and sometimes the coin flip it lands on tails.
Yeah, and I just think this team has all the potential in the world to win a championship. I mean, I said it that if they offensively hit the way that they hit in August, they can win a championship. They can be excellent, and they could go on a run. But you just haven't seen it enough. You've just seen too much of the bad, and there have been pockets surrounding it of good. And the pockets are not the overall thought of this season. I mean, I hate to pick on him, but we haven't gotten a chance to talk about these individual games. But that Francisco Alvarez at bat in the Philly series, where he just swung at three pitches outside of the zone, is just symbolically, right? Anecdotally, the vibes of this team. Like, that at bat to me is, if you wanted me to point to one thing of why the Mets are in the position that they're in right now, it is that. Like, that they are taking those types of at bats. No, they're not always that bad, but just like that at bat to me symbolizes the vibes that have surrounded this team over the last 2 weeks, if not longer.
Yeah. I mean, that, and then the Starling Marte double play, which might have been the same game, definitely the same series, and like, it's just things just looking uncompetitive in moments where in the past, as early or as recent as early September, the Mets have been able to come through, and it's just, there hasn't been that bubble, like you said, of good moments strung together. I guess we have to hope that this Pete Alonso walk-off on Sunday afternoon is going to carry forward into some pretty difficult series against two divisional opponents, and then two opponents that are in the wild card race right now in the NL.
Yeah, I certainly start getting concerned when you see stories getting written about, like, the team doesn't know what's going on, the team is still searching for answers, and it's like, I'm not putting blame on these guys, but it's September 15th. If we don't have answers, we're not finding answers. We just got to play better for 12 games, get into the postseason, and just hope that you can get hot, right? I don't think answers are coming that are just going to save the Mets season at this point. They are what they are, and they are a team that hit a wall with some starters. They're a team that offensively has just been up and down too much. Not as many ups, way too many downs. Their bullpen has been shaky outside of Edwin Diaz, and even Edwin Diaz has been shaky here recently. It feels like when one thing is right, the other things are wrong, and there haven't been enough times where everything is right. Now, that being said, there's 12 games left to play, and would it surprise me? Honestly, would it surprise me to the point where my jaw would be on the floor if they swept the Padres and all of a sudden we're only 2 games back of them for that second wild card spot? No, I wouldn't be surprised by that, because I've seen how this team can play when everything works. And so it can be really frustrating that when you go into these games every single night and you're sitting there and you're wondering, what's it going to be tonight? Is it going to be something tonight? And you wonder, even when things are good, okay, can they repeat it? It just feels like by September 15th, I should know if a team is able to start a stretch like this. I should know if a team, what's working for them, what's not working for them, but it just feels like it's a roulette wheel every night where you spin it and it's somebody else doing something wrong, or some part of this team not working that is contributing to them losing. And so the San Diego series coming up, it is Clay Holmes against Michael King, it's David Peterson against Nick Pivetta, and it's Jonathan against Dylan Cease. It's the 3 pitchers that, of the current 5 in the Mets rotation, the 3 guys that I think you're the least confident in, like Sproat and McClain get the 2 games against Washington. I certainly would prefer to have them in the San Diego series and have 2 other guys start the Washington series, but it's the way the pitching breaks down, and Carlos Mendoza has to start managing these games like they're playoff games. Yeah. That switch has to be flipped to where I don't care what workloads are. I need to put my best 9 in the lineup every single day for the final 12 days. I need to use my best relievers in the key moments, because I need to win this game, and I'll worry about Wednesday's game with Peterson on the mound on Wednesday. I'll worry about Thursday's game with Tong on the mound on Thursday. I can't manage Tuesday's game knowing that Jonah Tong's been struggling here as of late, and I need to have my bullpen fresh for Thursday. No, I have to win Tuesday, and I have to try to win Wednesday. Like, I can't think that far ahead. You have a 1.5 game lead to a team that was sellers at the deadline that you made a move with. Like, you cannot afford to look into the future. There's only 12 games left. You're running out of time.
And I think to that end, Chris, like, I even look at the starters and guys like McClain and Sproat, and after Sunday's game, it's especially easy to say this in hindsight, but Nolan McClain was at, I think, 91 pitches through 6 innings in that game. He had given up 0 runs. He looked solid the whole start. And despite being at 91 pitches, despite being a rookie, I would have asked for another inning from him because of the level of pitching that he's provided this team. And instead, Mendoza pulls him to start the 7th inning. We see what happens after that. It's another blown lead by the bullpen. And it's decisions like that that I'm going to be looking for on this last 12-game stretch of I want to see this team managed like it's a playoff game. Pitch counts in this final series down the stretch, I don't think are as important, especially for these younger guys. Like, these are games that they need to be winning every night because every night, like you said, is going to be a playoff game. It's do or die in this final 12 with only a 1.5 game lead on the final wild card spot.
Yeah, it's just go out there and play the best brand of baseball that you can for 12 games. And like you mentioned a little bit earlier, hopefully the Pete home run is the thing that kind of snaps this team out of this funk. They had that great moment. They got to celebrate a win. They snapped a very lengthy losing streak because before that, I mean, those 8 games, I mean, they were just rough. It was rough feeling like I was back post All-Star break watching a team that couldn't get out of their own way. It just felt like we were back there, and it felt like they felt sorry for themselves. And they can't do that in September. They can't. Like, the vibes were just so bad. And that leads to just mental miscues. That leads to just feeling sorry for yourself. And it just leads to this snowball that this time of year, if you let the snowball get too big, you don't have enough time to see what happened in July post All-Star break. You had enough time to fix it, and you did fix it, and you put yourself in a position into August and September where you were, for at least a brief moment there, potentially back in the mix for the NL East. You can't afford, like, that 8-game losing streak that they just had was absolutely brutal because it put them under a microscope to where they now have zero margin for error. Like, they can't have these lapses. So they need the best Clay Holmes on Tuesday. They need the best David Peterson on Wednesday. They need the best Jonah Tong on Thursday. And listen, I still think it's as simple as just win series. You take 2 out of 3 from San Diego, you're fine. You take 2 out of 3 from Washington, you're fine. Would I love a sweep in Washington? Sure, but I think that's just unfair expectations to the way this team is playing. 1 game at a time, 1 day at a time. Just win series and get into the postseason. And yeah, are my expectations for what this team will do ultimately come postseason time if they get there changed? Yes, I don't think they're where I thought they were 6 weeks ago, and I'm sure I'm speaking for you there as well. But I'll tell you that I do want to see this team in the postseason, even if they limp their way there. Like, I still want to watch them in the postseason because it's the playoffs. You never know what could happen, and we'll worry about the big picture stuff when we get to the offseason, whatever time that is.
Right, 100%. And I mean, the interesting thing is, like, the Mets have in a way gotten lucky because despite that 8-game losing streak, the inconsistent play of the Giants and Reds has been able to keep them in this, which means, like, there's no margin for error, but down the stretch, you have to be able to take advantage of things like the Giants and Diamondbacks playing each other right now, the 2 teams that are directly behind you in the wild card standings. That's a time to build some of a lead. It's a very difficult series against San Diego. Every divisional matchup is going to be difficult. We saw how the Mets have struggled against the Nationals and the Marlins earlier this season, but this is the time to lock in and win. You can't statistically win 90 games anymore, but that's not what you need to get in the playoffs. You just need to be winning series and staying ahead of the competition, and that means playing like you're in the playoffs already.
I'll tell you one other thing for me. I'm going to be really intrigued to see how they start Tuesday's game. Like, they have the emotional dump of winning the way that they did on Sunday to kind of get themselves out of this negative headspace. We'll find out very quickly on Tuesday if it is going to lead to something or if it's directly back to the team that they were before Sunday. I think that'll tell you everything you need to know about these final 12 games. And I hate to boil it down to 1 game when there's 12 left on the calendar, but if they come out flat on Tuesday, day off today, they get to breathe a sigh of relief. They got the win in walk-off fashion on Sunday. They didn't get swept. They didn't have a 9-game losing streak. If you can't come out rejuvenated, re-energized, and support Clay Holmes after maybe he has a 1-2-3 first and put up a crooked number and get yourself off to a good start, if we're still dreading, the 4th or 5th inning with Clay Holmes and the offense is still taking terrible at bats and they're just back to being in the funk that they were in before that, that's going to tell me everything I need to know about this team. Like, it just feels like Tuesday is going to tell us, did they snap out of these bad vibes, or was that just a brief moment of bliss and we're right back in the same spot that we were in before?
Yeah, 100%. Set the tone early. We'll say it a million times. There are a dozen games left. You got to win as many as you can.
We're back on Friday to break down this 3-game series between San Diego. Hopefully, the next time that you hear from us, the Mets will still be holding on to that third and final spot in the National League wildcard picture. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's tough times right now being a Mets fan. It is not easy watching these games because you feel despondent. You just feel in despair about the way that the team, sports-wise, the way this team is currently playing. You just can't see the path. And I know we all think that this team can play well enough to do something special. Just unfortunately, we haven't seen enough of it. And right now, we need to see it. We need to see it over these final 12 games. If you are new here, please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Share the show with a Mets fan friend. I know it's a more negative episode here of the show, but please still get the word out if you enjoy listening to us here. Helps us out a ton. You want to watch the show? Check over Jack McKessie, the YouTube channel, MCKESSY over there. We are back Friday to break down this series against San Diego, a real important one. This could be the switch being flipped for this team with 12 games to go here in the regular season. As always, let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.